Let me ask you something uncomfortable. Have you ever watched a genuinely kind, loyal, emotionally available man get ignored, while the guy who barely texts back, disappears for days, and treats her like an option somehow becomes the one she can't stop thinking about? You've seen it. Maybe you've lived it. And every time it happens, the same question hits you like a punch to the chest. Why do women keep choosing men who hurt them over men who would treat them right? Is it self-sabotage? Is it biology? Is it some dark psychological glitch no one talks about? Today, I'm going to tell you the brutal reason behind this pattern. Not the politically correct version, not the fairy tale answer, but the truth that actually explains what's going on inside attraction. And fair warning, this isn't going to be comfortable, but it will change how you see dating forever. Now, before anyone gets defensive, let's get one thing clear. This video is not about hating women, hating. And it's not about becoming a cruel, heartless guy. In fact, if you misunderstand this topic, you'll end up doing the exact wrong thing and push women away even faster. What we're really talking about today is why good men often fail at attraction, and why men who appear cold, detached, or even cruel often trigger intense emotional pull. This isn't about morality. It's about human psychology. And once you understand the difference between being nice and being attractive, everything starts to make sense. So let's break this down step by step. Point 1. Attraction is not rewarded for kindness. It's triggered by emotion. Here's the first hard truth most men never hear. Attraction is not a reward system for good behavior. Women don't feel desire because a man is polite, loyal, or self-sacrificing. They feel desire because of how a man makes them feel emotionally. Now think about this. The good guy often shows up trying to prove how caring he is, how available he is, how much he's willing to give. He texts back instantly. He agrees with everything. He never challenges. He never risks upsetting her. And on paper, that sounds perfect. But emotionally, it's flat. There's no tension, no uncertainty, no spark. Now compare that to the so-called cruel man. He's unpredictable. He doesn't explain himself. He's emotionally controlled. He comes close, then pulls away. And that emotional push-pull, it lights up the brain. Psychologically, intensity beats stability in the early stages of attraction. Not because women love pain, but because the brain confuses emotional intensity with emotional importance. And the cruel man creates intensity effortlessly. Relatable story: the two men scenario. Let me tell you a story you've probably seen play out in real life. There are two men. Man A. He listens to her problems for hours. He reassures her constantly. He tells her she's beautiful every day. He's always available. Man B. He listens, but doesn't over-validate. He disappears sometimes. He doesn't explain himself. He sets boundaries. He lives his own life. Now here's the twist. Man A feels safe. Man B feels exciting. And in early attraction, the brain prioritizes excitement over safety. That doesn't mean man B is better. It means his behavior triggers emotional engagement. Safety feels good later. Excitement hooks you now. And this is where most good men lose the game without even knowing they're playing it. Point 2. Cruelty is often misinterpreted as confidence. Here's something no one tells you. Most women are not attracted to cruelty. They're attracted to confidence and emotional self-control. But when a man lacks emotional intelligence, that confidence can look like cruelty. Think about it. A man who doesn't chase, doesn't over-explain, doesn't beg for validation, doesn't fear losing her appears powerful. Now contrast that with a man who over-texts, over-apologizes, over-invests, early panics at distance. Even if he's kind, he feels insecure, and insecurity kills attraction faster than silence ever will. So when women say they're drawn to bad boys, what they're often responding to is emotional independence, strong boundaries, a man who doesn't need approval, not cruelty. Cruelty is just the shadow side of confidence. Psychology, insight, the scarcity effect. There's a powerful psychological principle at play here called scarcity. The human brain values what feels limited. The cruel or detached man doesn't always reply, isn't always available, doesn't guarantee emotional access, and that uncertainty triggers obsession. Meanwhile, the overly nice man is always there, always predictable, always emotionally open, and predictability kills curiosity. This isn't about manipulation, it's about emotional pacing. When you give everything up front, there's nothing left to discover. Point 3, the good man mistake. Leading with approval instead of identity. Here's where it really hurts. Many good men don't fail because they're kind. They fail because they make the woman the center of their identity. They lead with, "Do you like me? Am I enough? What can I do to keep you?" That energy feels heavy. Now compare that to a man who leads with purpose, direction, self-respect. His own mission, he's not trying to win her approval, he's inviting her into his world. And attraction flows toward certainty, not toward need. This is why women often say, "I don't know why, but he just has something." That something is grounded identity. Actionable tip number 1, practical, real-life use. Here's something you can start doing immediately. Stop asking, "How do I make her like me?" Start asking, "Would I respect myself if I acted this way?" Because self-respect is felt emotionally. And when you stop chasing validation, you become magnetic, without being cruel. Let me ask you this, and be honest in the comments. Have you ever been the good one who got overlooked while someone colder took your place? I want to hear your story. Now here's where things get even more uncomfortable. Because the next reason women are drawn to emotionally harder men has nothing to do with confidence. It has to do with emotional challenge, growth, and something deeply wired into human desire that most men never understand. And once you see it, you'll realize why trying to be perfect is actually pushing her away. Point 4. Emotional challenge creates desire, comfort kills. Here's a truth most men never want to hear. Being too emotionally comfortable too early is one of the fastest ways to kill attraction. Now pause for a second, because this sounds backwards. We're taught that love is about comfort, reassurance, and safety. And that's true later. But in the attraction phase, desire is fueled by emotional challenge, not emotional cushioning. The men women describe as cruel often do one thing very well without realizing it. They don't emotionally coddle. They don't rush in to fix feelings. They don't constantly reassure. They don't lower themselves to keep her comfortable. Instead, they challenge her emotions. They disagree without fear. Call out behavior calmly, hold their ground, don't bend just to avoid tension. And tension is not bad. Tension is electric. Good men often remove all tension because they're afraid of losing her. But here's the irony. By trying to make her comfortable, they make her bored. Relatable example, the always understanding trap. Picture this. She's upset. She vents. She complains. The good man response? "I understand. You're right. That must be so hard. I'm here for you." Again and again, every time. Now compare that to the emotionally grounded man. He listens, but then says something like, "I hear you, but I think you're avoiding something here." That moment, that hits. Not because it's cruel, but because it challenges her emotional narrative. And challenge forces engagement. Desire grows where emotion is stimulated, not where it's soothed into sleep. Point 5. Women are attracted to men who don't fear losing them. This is one of the most brutal truths in dating psychology. The man who fears losing her the most is usually the least attractive one. Why? Because fear leaks. It shows up in over-texting, over-explaining, over-apologizing, over-investing too early, and emotionally, that communicates one thing. You are my source of value. That's a heavy burden for attraction to carry. Now look at the so-called cruel man. He doesn't threaten to leave. He doesn't play games. He simply lives like his life will continue with or without her. And that independence It signals abundance, not abundance of women. Abundance of self. Women are not drawn to men who need them. They're drawn to men who choose them. And you can't choose from a place of fear. Psychology insight. Emotional polarity. Attraction thrives on polarity. Strength meets softness. Groundedness meets emotion. Stability meets chaos. When a man is overly accommodating, overly agreeable, overly emotionally available, polarity collapses. Two emotionally reactive people don't spark, they blend. The men labeled cruel often maintain polarity simply because they don't emotionally collapse under pressure. They stay calm when she's emotional. They stay centered when she pulls away. They stay grounded when things get uncertain. That contrast creates attraction. Point 6. The nice guy contract that no one agreed to. This is where things get painful, but necessary. Many good men operate under a silent contract. It goes like this. If I treat her well, if I'm patient, if I give her everything, then she'll choose me. But here's the problem. She never signed that contract, and attraction doesn't work on moral debt. When kindness is given with expectation, it turns into resentment, and women can feel that energy. That's why they often say, "He's nice, but something feels off." What feels off is covert neediness. True kindness has no agenda. Attraction can sense the difference. Actionable tip number 2. Replace approval, seeking with direction. Here's something practical you can apply immediately. Next time you're with a woman, stop asking, "Is she happy? Did I say the right thing? Am I losing her?" And start focusing on, "Am I expressing myself honestly? Am I leading this interaction? Am I grounded in who I am?" Direction is attractive, even if she disagrees, even if there's friction. Friction beats passivity every time. Point 7. Why cruel men are often emotionally unavailable, and why that hooks people. Here's the final piece. And this is important. Many men women chase aren't cruel, they're emotionally unavailable, and emotional unavailability creates pursuit. Why? Because humans want what feels unfinished. Uncertainty activates the brain's reward system more than certainty. That's why inconsistent affection feels addictive, distance feels magnetic, silence feels louder than words. Now here's the dangerous part. This does not mean you should become cold, distant, or manipulative. It means you should stop over-explaining and over-giving before emotional investment is earned. Presence without over-access creates attraction. Let me be very clear. Women do not prefer cruel men. They prefer confidence over insecurity, emotional control over emotional dependence. Direction over people-pleasing cruelty is just what happens when those traits exist without empathy. Your goal is not to be cruel. Your goal is to be grounded. You don't need to stop being a good man. You need to stop being a self-erasing man. Be kind, without begging. Be present, without clinging. Be confident, without cruelty. That's where attraction lives. Let me ask you something real. Do you think modern dating rewards confidence more than kindness? Or is it about balance? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read them. If this video gave you clarity instead of comfort, hit like. It helps this message reach men who need it. Subscribe if you want honest psychology, not sugar-coated dating advice. And share this with a friend who keeps saying, "I don't understand why this keeps happening."